Are you feeling that chill crawling up your spine? Good. Because by the time this video ends, you'll learn why the walls of Eastern State Penitentiary aren't just stone and echo, they're a vault for tormented souls. What unseen force sends faint sobs drifting through empty cells at dawn? Why do visitors swear they hear a child's laughter echo in the exercise yard long after the sun disappears? And what terrible secret led to a guard's horrific demise in 1909, found days later, bound to a cell door, eyes wide with terror, lips stained red with words he never spoke? Those questions will linger until the final revelation. Stay with me. Only at the end will you discover the truth of what still haunts these desolate halls. Philadelphia, 1829. The grand iron gates of Eastern State Penitentiary creak open for the first time. Its founders proclaimed it a revolutionary model, solitary confinement as a means of penance. Inmates would spend 23 hours a day alone, hooded upon entry, guided to cells with only a narrow slit for meals and a moment of sunlight. Silence was the law. Reflection, they said, would heal the mind. But isolation also invited madness. By the 1850s, Eastern State housed over 1,000 men, 4 times its intended capacity. Cells built for one became overcrowded chambers. Records from that era note more than 100 official suicides, though whispers suggest the true number was far higher. Guards spoke of hearing footsteps in cells that should be empty, or of doors rattling when no one was there. They shivered at sudden drops in temperature so frigid that breath frosted the air, even in summer. And always, at midnight, some claimed to hear a child's laughter, the bright, innocent sound starkly out of place among these walls. Fast forward to November 1909. Guard Thomas Reynolds, aged 27 and known for his rock-steady composure, was on his usual midnight rounds down cell block 12. He checked every door, locked tight, no sign of life. When he failed to report in the morning, a maintenance crew opened the corridor to discover him. His belt had been torn into strips and used to lash him to the heavy oak door. His eyes stared glassy, mouth agape in a silent scream, and above him, smeared in his own blood, were the words, "He watches from the catwalk." No guards dared set foot in that corridor after dusk again. Why did something, drag Thomas to that door? And who was this mysterious watcher on the catwalk? Guards recalled that in 1888, a sadistic officer named Louis Barker had tortured inmates by dragging them along that very catwalk above cell block 12. One night, Barker succumbed to a delusion. He felt invisible hands pushing him into the yard, crushing his bones by the thousands, yet no other soul was found there. Inmates whispered that Barker's ghost lingered on those steel beams, hunting any guard who dared tread above. On that November night, witnesses say Reynolds's lantern flickered out. Seconds later, his screams echoed up from below. When the crew reached him, the belt bindings were fresh, yet no living person was there. From that day on, some claim they still hear Barker's crooked laughter echoing above, and sometimes they glimpse a tall, gaunt figure pacing the catwalk in the flicker of a failing light. But Eastern State holds darker secrets than Barker's vengeance. In 1913, cell block 15 erupted in flames. Official reports blamed a stray candle. 3 inmates, Benjamin Coates, Mad Dog Miller, and Robert Red Donovan, burned to death. But survivors swore the blaze moved of its own accord. A clandestine ritual, they said, had gone horribly wrong. Late at night, Coates discovered a bricked-over passage beneath the infirmary. An old Civil War-era hallway where condemned soldiers once lay dying. He and 2 friends lit candles there, reciting lines from an occult text they had pieced together. As they chanted, sparks leapt from the walls, igniting a firestorm that consumed them in minutes. When the flames died, their bodies lay huddled in a circle, hands clutching fractured talismans etched with strange runes. Coates's eyes had been gouged out, Miller's hands fused into skeletal claws, Donovan's tongue was missing. Guards claimed their screams lingered in the tunnels for hours, begging for release. To this day, the entrances to those lower tunnels remain sealed, for fear that any attempt to disturb them will unleash something worse than smoke and flame. Then came 1971, when Eastern State shuttered its doors for good. Public outrage over inhumane conditions, budget shortfalls, and a series of scandals sealed its fate. On June 30th, the final inmates shuffled out, escorted by guards who refused to linger near cell block 12. They said they heard a woman's lullaby floating through the darkness, soft, sorrowful, and achingly close, as if a mother sang to a child she could no longer see. Under a waning moon, the penitentiary fell silent. Yet the shadows remained alive. In 1994, the Eastern State Penitentiary Preservation Trust reopened the asylum as a museum. Visitors could walk the same corridors that held Al Capone, Willie Sutton, and bank robber, Slick Willie, Smith. But from day one, reports of paranormal activity flooded in. In winter 1995, a ghost hunting group called the Liberty Paranormal Club recorded childlike giggling in the main hub, despite the architecture making it impossible for sound to carry that way. Infrared cameras in cell block 12 captured a pale figure hovering by a barred window, its head tilting toward the lens before collapsing into thin air. EMF readers spiked beyond their limits, frying batteries in minutes. Teams left before dawn, convinced something ancient and enraged stirred beneath the cell blocks. So what haunts Eastern State today? Why do modern investigators still glimpse 19th-century figures in the gloom? Why do contractors assigned to repair walls or install wiring abandon projects at midnight, faces ashen, refusing to speak of what they saw? The answers lie in the penitentiary's darkest corners, answers you'll only hear at the end. Hanging question 1. What compels those childlike giggles to echo through empty exercise yards at the stroke of midnight, and why do whispers insist on the names Samuel and James Clark with a reverent sadness? Hanging question 2. What drove guard Thomas Reynolds to his unimaginable fate, and who, or what, continues to scrawl, he watches from the catwalk, in crimson letters that bleed from the wood? Hanging question 3. What truly sparked the cell block 15 fire of 1913, and why do some believe its victims were claimed by a ritual rather than mere accident? Hanging question 4. Why do anyone who ventures inside after dark feel a weight so oppressive it becomes physically painful, as though they inhale centuries of sorrow with every breath? Hanging question 5. What slumbers beneath the penitentiary's eastern foundation, in tunnels sealed for over a century, and why do dogs howl at the gates precisely at midnight every single night? As you listen, imagine walking those long, narrow corridors. Feel the chill that never warms, even in July. Hear the distant clang of a cell door and a whisper, so soft you're not sure you heard it, until it fades. Each answer awaits you, but only if you dare to stay until the final revelation. The answers at last. The childlike giggles and the names Samuel and James Clark. In 1855, a 10-year-old boy named Sammy Smallwood was arrested for stealing bread to feed his starving siblings. He was placed in cell 202 alongside James Clark, a forger serving a 10-year sentence. Inmates tormented Sammy, believing a child could not survive here. 3 weeks later, his parents arrived to visit, only to be told he had been transferred, no record, no trace, as though he had vanished. James Clark remained incarcerated until 1857, when he was found in the guard tower's maintenance room, lifeless, his eyes glassy with terror. He claimed Sammy's spirit visited him nightly, humming a lullaby and leading him toward a bricked-over hatch beneath their cell. He spent hours clawing at that wall until he collapsed of exhaustion. Now, each midnight, visitors in cell 202 hear the faintest lullaby, like a mother singing to a child long gone. Those giggles come from Sammy's innocent spirit, trapped between worlds, calling for his brother in arms, James, whose spirit still roams in eternal vigil. When you hear, Samuel, be free, it's James, pleading to unlock the hatch that never existed, so both might finally rest. Guard Thomas Reynolds and the Catwalk Watcher. Louis Barker, an officer infamous for sadistic punishments in the 1880s, once used the catwalk above cell block 12 to torture inmates, including a mute prisoner named Stella, who claimed Barker haunted her dreams. One evening,